Hey there, everyone. Dave Barlow here with Sell for 1% Realtors, and we're going to jump right into it. Inventory levels. For buyer agents, Mike and Jamie, Steve does a bunch of buyers as well. What are you guys seeing out there? I'm not going to tell you the numbers quite yet. I'm just interested in seeing what you guys are seeing for your buyers. Mike, you go first.
They're up. I know days on market are up. I know inventory's up. You know, back in the spring, I would get an email notification for my buyer that a property hit the market. It'd be in a great part of town. I could tell just since I've been doing this long enough that it was priced right. And I know that property would be gone in a matter of 2 or 3 days. It doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Buyers are getting the opportunity to see a house when it comes on the market and actually make a decent decision on this instead of being forced into running and looking at it and making an offer in a span of 6 hours. So I know inventory is up. I don't know how high it's gone up, but I know it's a lot different than what it looked like this earlier spring.
Jay Morenski.
I would agree with that notion. Days on market are up, which I think is probably the main indicator for me that things are sliding a little bit. I know that price drops are way up compared to the spring. But I just had recently one that, a buyer reached out about a price drop, and there was 5 showings that came up, and that thing went, that night. And so I think, on the selling side, price drops are a good tactic to use to get action flowing and get things sold. I have a buyer looking at ranch homes in Westerville, and ranch homes in Westerville, in the kind of the main area there of Westerville. I forget exactly what, the subdivision is. Huber Homes, I think, area, Huber Heights. Those are going in a day. Those ranch homes in Westerville are elusive. So
Huber Ridge.
Yeah, Huber Ridge. So
Yep.
I think and again, it has to be priced right. I mean, you have to be competitive in this market right now, but I would agree with inventory is up, days on market up, price drops up.
Yeah, I think that you're right on target. I'll give you a real quick example. I have a listing out in Gahanna Schools, sits on 1 acre. It's a ranch. I told the seller from the very beginning, we got to be below 400,000. And he wanted to push market because he wasn't, in a rush to sell. But in that 65, 70 day time frame that we had the house listed at 425,000, we saw interest rates go from 5.5% up to 7%. And so we moved price a couple of times, just small increments. And then finally he came and said, what we got to do to sell this? I said, I told you 2 months ago, get below 400 because there's major price brackets that buyers look in. And so we moved it to 399. Lo and behold, the next day we had, like you said, Jamie, we had like 4 or 5 showings and put it in the contract, pretty close to the asking price. And so there is something to be said as that price moves down. You're going to hit a sweet spot, and then all of a sudden you're going to generate more showings. SB, what are you seeing out there?
Well, Dave, I think you hit the nail on the head. We kind of are in a perfect storm right now for us guys as buyer's agents. We got cold weather coming, we've got the holidays coming, and we've got interest rates on the move in the wrong direction. They're going up.
Right.
And we know, Dave, we're number guys. And so for the last 23, 24 years, we know that this time of the year, houses typically don't sell as quickly as they do as we're coming into the spring. Right. And then the kids getting out of school, we see those numbers jump. And so I think a lot of it is just natural right now. Compared not to last year or the last 2 years, but over our last 23, 24 years, we typically see it stall as we get close to Thanksgiving, and we're 2 weeks away.
Right.
But when you talk about getting a house and getting it priced right, there's one down here on the corner of my street that sold overnight. Your house, you got it into the right price bracket, bam, it sold. I think houses that are priced right, you gotta be you got to be on top of your game. You got to get your client through it. Yeah, maybe they've got 4 or 5 hours, so it's not an impulsive decision. To Mike's point, that's a terrible way to buy a house, in my humble opinion. I'm going to spend $400,000 and I've got to make that decision in 6 minutes. It's always nice to have a couple of minutes to kind of digest what you've seen, get our information. Let me do some research for you, do a comparative market analysis, and see if it should be priced at $399 as opposed to $425. So you're not wasting $25,000, and I think that's where this group is worth its weight in gold.
And that's a great point. And I will throw in another thing for you guys and for you buyers out there. Don't be afraid to insult a seller.
Amen.
I've had plenty of buyers and even agents will call me up and say, "Oh, we don't want to insult the seller. What do you think they'll do?" And my standard answer has always been, write it up and let's see what happens. And so I have a listing over in Hilliard as an example. They bought back in February, but their circumstances changed and they're moving back home to India. And they were one of those buyers that paid $50,000 over the asking price in order to purchase the property. And so we priced the house above that to try to get them back to a point where they could at least break even. And the house has been on the market for about 3 months. And again, as interest rates go up, fewer and fewer buyers. And so they did some price reductions and we got it down to a point where we had a buyer 2 weeks ago write an offer for $20,000 less than what they even paid for it. And, the agent calls, say, "Hey, what do you think?" I said, "Well, I can't speak for the seller. Write it up. I'll be happy to present it." And so I presented it. And an hour later, my seller calls back and says, "We'll take it." And so don't be afraid to insult the seller and make an offer. They may, as the old saying goes, they may double cross you and accept it. And so when I called that agent back and I said, "Hey, they're going to take your offer," she was like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, they're going to take it." She's like, "Awesome, let's go." And so lots of ways and lots of things to think about. As Steve said, give us a call. We'd be happy to help you and work with you to get you into that next property. So till next week, we'll talk to you soon.